I want to see Georgia at the end of the season. They have 8 or 9 warm-up games. Yikes. Thanks for playing, South Carolina and the Gators. That was Roman Harper on the SEC Network earlier this week, talking about Georgia and the schedule. And Georgia is going to come out as the number one team in the country, almost certainly when the polls are released here in a few days. But, well, I guess probably in about 9 days. But, do you think that Roman Harper is correct when he talks about Georgia's schedule? You could have two teams who are going to be highly ranked teams, Georgia and Michigan, who really just don't start off with much in the way of anything at the beginning of the season. Now, for the Dawgs, this is a new thing. You go back to even 2002, all the way back then, Georgia has made a concerted effort to play big games at the beginning of seasons. 2002, 3, Clemson. 2005, they played Boise State to open the season. 6, they played Colorado. 7 was Oklahoma State, and they also played in 8, they played Arizona State on the road near the beginning of the season. You get the point. 2009, they played on the road to Oklahoma State. Senseless, but whatever. And, Georgia, though, in this season is going to open with Tennessee Martin in what should be a complete and utter beating, and then Ball State. So, what Roman Harper is talking about here is moving on to the rest of this season. And, there's not a lot of games here Georgia should lose. There's not. I mean, if you're on the message board with us, our friend Purple Brave talks about this a lot. The projected spreads, some of them are live spreads. I mean, there's no real game that Georgia should lose, generally speaking. They are at the level now where they are just that much better than everybody else, number one. Number two, they're in position where the teams that they're playing have really been knocked down pretty good. I mean, the team that's on the biggest high of the beginning part of this season is South Carolina, and they were 8-5 last year, with a loss to the Gators. So I kind of get the point now. If this is code for Georgia doesn't play anybody, well, I mean, I just can't. We're going to keep having this argument. We're going to keep having this discussion. Georgia hasn't played anybody and keeps whipping people's asses. That's the problem. Hey, pick up our 2023 guide. Season's going to be here before you know it. This still has great information in it. But what you want to do is get this now by subscribing below. You'll get this for free. You'll get 20% off any order at Red Zone. You could get this sweatshirt. You could get this hat. You could get anything from them that you'd like. 20% off. They're going to give you an order code that is specific to you. Here's the best part. For the thousands of you who have ordered books from me, if you ordered Double Dawgs or the magazine, all you got to do is sign up down below. You'll still get everything I just talked about, but you'll get September for free. Take advantage of this now. A lot of people are. I don't want to run out of preview editions, and we're going to at some point. I don't know when that will be. Hopefully, it won't be anytime soon. But Roman Harper played linebacker at Alabama. Was a very good linebacker, not just at Bama, but in the NFL as well. And this discussion of if we're really taking a hard look at this, I mean, you look at Carolina. Carolina could come in. We're going to know a lot about South Carolina when they play North Carolina. That's game 1. That's a big game for South Carolina. That's a big game for North Carolina. I mean, people are talking about this quarterback up there, and but South Carolina has been tougher than North Carolina. So that's North Carolina's problem is they're not tough. Not the way you need to be in this league. So if Carolina wins that game, whichever one, that will tell us a lot about the Carolina that loses that game. And then Georgia's playing UAB, a team that they should dominate. The road game at Auburn, that's going to be tougher than people think. That's going to be tougher, I think, than people think. I think the South Carolina game could be tougher than people think, too. But let me watch South Carolina play first. Kentucky, that was one team that Roman Harper was talking about. He, I guess, included Kentucky in their warm-up games, but then he mentioned Kentucky at the end, perhaps not realizing that the Kentucky game had been moved up significantly on the schedule to where it sort of traditionally is, which is in October. Vanderbilt, no. The Gators, it's hard to see the Gators getting where they got to go with Georgia. Missouri comes to Athens. I mean, these are all games that Georgia's going to be a double-digit favorite in. But the close is not insignificant. I mean, Mississippi has a good team, generally speaking. They have a team that can be dangerous. And we're going to see where the Rebels are at in November. They have taken a nosedive in a lot of these Novembers lately, so that's kind of problematic for them. As it relates to the trip to Tennessee, that's just always a hard game. I mean, I've been there plenty of times to know. I've seen this, for 20 plus years. It's just hard to play at Tennessee. It doesn't matter if they're good or not. I'm going to review it real quick. 2003, Sean Jones to the end zone. That was a tight game until the half, and then Georgia just blew them out. 2005, really an epic clash of those two teams. Probably the best in terms of ranking that those two teams have been in at Neyland. And Georgia won that game 27-10 or something like that. Thomas Flowers. 2007, Tennessee beat Georgia 35-14. And then 2 years later, which was a really bad look for Georgia. That was I can't remember the score, something 45-19, something like that. I mean, Georgia, they just got blown out. That was when there were real problems in the program in 2009. 11, Georgia goes up there and wins that game 20-12, something like that. I don't know. I don't have the scores on with me. I'm going by memory. But that was the Aaron Murray game where he, really gutted Georgia through. They had like a third and like 50 or something like that, third and 60 yards. And then in 13, the overtime game that they win. In 15, a game they should have won and lost somehow. In 17, a blowout, 41-0. And then in 19, a game that was a little tighter maybe than it felt like on television live. That was Georgia just zooming past Tennessee in the second half, which is what they did to UT in 2021 as well. But in all those games, Georgia, it's just not easy to play up there. And I think that's the part that, and coupled with the fact that Tennessee's playing so well, that's the part where maybe Roman Harper is right. But something always happens in this thing. Like if South Carolina beats Carolina, then you're talking about a South Carolina team that's going to come to Georgia ranked, maybe top 15. I mean, we don't know. And there will be all this discussion about what they did to Tennessee the year before, what they did to Clemson the year before. All these things will be in play for Carolina when they come to Athens. Kentucky certainly could be ranked. There's not a lot of teams in Kentucky's way at the beginning of this season. Let me just run through their schedule right now. So this may look not that bad right now, but over time, I do not at all think it's out of the question that Tennessee could come to Athens undefeated, having beaten Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, Vanderbilt, and the Gators. All of those games, they kind of should win those games. So that in that scenario would probably be a top 15 game. But we'll just see what happens over time. And I do think that we're at the point where, Georgia has positioned itself in a way that it's just going to be hard for everybody else to beat them. You're talking about a two-time national champion trying to go for their third. They're just better than a lot of these teams. It's just what it is. It's okay. It's just what it is. And I don't know if Roman was trying to say that Georgia doesn't play a difficult schedule, but I mean, look, they cannot help that Oklahoma was coming into the league. They would have gone to Oklahoma this season. They'd have kicked the crap out of OU, and they would have, but Oklahoma's not ranked right now either. So you cannot constantly schedule 18 months out and know that like Oregon's going to be good or Clemson's going to be good or whoever, is Clemson going to be a top 10 team coming into the game next year in Atlanta in 2024? I don't know that. Georgia will be. I don't know that Clemson will be. Top 10? I don't know. So that sort of stuff is harder to talk about. But this year was simply a matter of Georgia's game that they had scheduled in 2000, I think it was 18 or 19 with Oklahoma, because of them coming into the league and because of it being an unequitable move. Georgia and Oklahoma both had to drop one. No one's talking about that from the OU side because no one cares about Oklahoma.